Welcome to the BCS YPG Student Programming Competition Awards. Jennifer Hewitt is with Chris Culnane to tell us more.
Yes, Andrew, I'm here with Chris Culnane from YPG Guildford and the University of Surrey. Chris, what's the inside track on tonight? What can we expect?
We can expect to see some good strategies from the entries. We've got some really interesting stuff done by James Heather on analysing how those strategies did. And we've also seen a non-recursive beginner strategy that really outperformed some recursive ones as well, so it's great to see that.
Great stuff. And any likelihood that we can have a bit of an advanced look at who the winners are?
I couldn't tell you that. It's a secret I couldn't possibly reveal, and it would ruin the suspense.
Well, we'll find out later, I guess. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the awards evening for the BCS Student Contest 2009. I'm Chris Culnane and jointly organised the contest along with David Williams. David and I are both PhD students in the Department of Computing at the University of Surrey. I first heard about the contest platform when I noticed a poster in our department advertising the current work of one of our lecturers, who's sat over there, Dr. James Heather, from whom we'll hear a bit more from later. The poster spoke of a programming competition platform on which contestants would enter a strategy for Connect 4. And my first thought was, I want to enter this. I want to have a go at this. Little did I know I would then end up jointly organising it and not get to enter it. But there we go. David and I first saw the final version of the game platform during a department research seminar in 2008, given by James. By that time, we'd both become quite heavily involved with the Guildford branch of the BCS and the odd event elsewhere. And we thought it would make a great platform for a student contest. And so we kind of approached the YPG Executive Committee. They really liked the idea and straight away offered to sponsor one of the prizes. One thing kind of led to another, and we ended up being in charge of the BCS Student Contest 2009, somewhat inadvertently. We had somewhat naively underestimated the amount of work it was going to take to do it. But seeing the fantastic range and the quality of the submissions has really made it all worthwhile. I'd like to take this opportunity just for a moment to say thank you on behalf of myself and David. First, I'd like to thank all the people who registered, downloaded the software, and also the people who actually entered and submitted their entries, and particularly the people who've made the journey today. I know some of you have travelled quite far. I'd like to thank Dr. James Heather, who developed the contest platform as part of a Skepta Fellowship and kindly allowed us to use it for the contest. I'd also like to thank Catherine Harcup over here from the Faculty of Engineering and Physical Sciences at the University of Surrey, who was the co-sponsor of the contest and for helping us to launch it in National Science Week. Likewise, I'd like to thank the BCS YPG Executive Committee for being the other co-sponsor and for all their help and advice throughout the contest. I'd also like to thank Roger Peel, who's representing the Guildford branch today, serving as chairman. Roger is a friend and a colleague from the Department of Computing and has always offered a lot of support and encouragement for all the YPG activities we've held in Guildford, and particularly the contest. You'll have a chance to hear from each of these this evening, and we're also delighted to welcome Alan Pollard, the BCS president. However, there are always people who are behind the scenes, do a lot of work, who don't get to stand up here and say who they are in front of all of you. And so it gives us a chance also on this occasion to really thank Pam Fagan, who deserves a lot of credit for getting things done, particularly this evening. She's provided an enormous amount of support for David and I. Unfortunately, Pam could not be with us this evening because she's got other commitments. We are keen to credit her with the invaluable work she's done in allowing us to hold this evening and liaising with the BCS HQ. Finally, I'd like to thank David Williams, the person who jointly organised this with me. He unfortunately can't be here tonight either. David was keen to echo my words in championing the hard work of his fellow organiser. It was indeed very much a team effort. But more importantly, championing the efforts of the people who took the time out to actually enter the contest. Standard of entries was really impressive, and you've really done really great and made us very proud of it. Without further ado, I'd like to move on to the awards. In addition to the advertised Open and Beginner contest, we also have 3 additional awards to present. We have the Professionalism Award, the Innovation Award, and finally the Judge's Choice Award. Firstly, I'd like to invite Jen Hewitt, Chair of the YPG, to say a few words and present the award for professionalism.
Well, before I get started on this award, I actually want to say a big thank you to Chris, because he's been with the YPG for quite a long time now. In fact, he received an award from the YPG for his outstanding contribution at our Congress last year, and he's sadly leaving the YPG at the next AGM of the Guildford branch. So I just want to wish you well, and thank you for all of your hard work with the YPG, and good luck with finishing your PhD, which is why Chris is stepping down. So, for those of you that don't know a little bit more about the YPG, we are the largest membership group in the BCS. We have almost 24,000 members, so we represent just over a third of the BCS population. There's a large large population of students within that group, and actually not many people know that students account for 18% of the BCS membership, which is quite phenomenal. So the YPG have been undertaking quite a lot of work recently looking into student membership and student benefits, and events such as this we think are so important for promoting the underpinning of what is our profession in academia and for students coming through. As part of that, alongside this competition, we have other activities, and one of them is the launch of the BCS Student Body Ambassador. And I don't know if you guys have seen this poster that's flying around, but we're looking to recruit somebody to our executive committee who will represent the student body and look to enhance the liaison between universities, not just in the UK, but even globally, because we have a large student population in countries such as Sri Lanka. So if anybody's interested, please do let me know, and it is advertised on the website. We're also keen to establish rapport with all the universities, which would be the role of that ambassador, but I know that we have people from a variety of universities here, so if you are interested in having a closer link with the YPG and the BCS in your university, then please do let us know. So without further ado, I am presenting the Professionalism Award this evening. Now, when I was at university, my professors, I studied computer science, used to always really talk about what is the essence of this award, which is about really defining your code and presenting it in a way that is, comprehensible, and it's easy to read and it's easy to follow. And I never really got the importance until I went into industry. And when you find that you are working with others and you pick up their code and you can't decipher it for anything, it's a real nightmare. And it happens so often. And when that happens, you always do think back to the days when you're a student and think, crikey, that person should have actually listened to their lecture. So I'm fully supportive of this reward. So, without further ado, if I can open the envelope. The award for professionalism goes to Nick Ball from the University of Manchester. So, is Nick here? Nick, congratulations.
So, Nick Bloor from the University of Manchester wins the award for professionalism. The judges said that Nick's code, virtually every line was commented, and his interesting strategy based upon the idea that there was only 69 ways of winning Connect 4 were what secured him this award.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to have won the contest?
It's brilliant. Initially I thought if I do a recursive solution, I'll be fighting against a lot of fairly perfect players, and so I thought I'd take on the challenge of I can look at one or two moves ahead, and that's that, and just build up on a strategy. And I just developed this idea. There's 69 possible ways to win the game, but there's millions of ways that the board can be, and I just worked on that.
Okay, I'd now like to invite Dr. Roger Pill, who I've mentioned is chairman of the Guildford branch of the BCS and a senior lecturer in the Department of Computing at the University of Surrey, to present the Award for Innovation.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming along here this evening to this ceremony. As Chris has just said, I am the chairman of the Guildford branch of the BCS, and the Guildford branch is a very active branch. We have a lot of activities going on through the year, but a vast number of them are related to the YPG and to our students within the University of Surrey. And we run lots of things to try to encourage the younger generation that they wish to become part of a professional society, and hopefully in later years to propagate through it and obtain extra educational qualifications through the society, and indeed then hopefully to inspire further generations as well. So within the University of Surrey, we certainly noticed during the last year that James Heather was interested in these ideas of computer moderated games, and we were interested by the fact that he obtained an award within the university to develop the particular platform that he's going to be showing us here this evening. And we decided we wanted to incorporate it into the YPG activities that run within the branch. So within the branch, we have some workshops. They run for a good number of weeks throughout both of the semesters of the academic year, and they are primarily available for students within the Department of Computing, but we do actually throw them open more widely to electronic engineers and physicists and anyone else who wants to come along and join in. And over the past year, we've run activities relating to robotics and to programming mobile phones, any excuse really to play with Java outside of a course context and do something a bit more interesting with computing that shows a slightly wider aspect to the technology. But it's not all hard work and Java and so on. We organised a trip up to London here to the Turing lecture earlier on in the year. We organised a barbecue for all students within the Department of Computing, which was quite a massive affair. Shame about the weather. But certainly everything we can do just to infuse the youngsters to get involved is important to us. Many of the workshop activities over the past semester have actually been related to the student contest platform that you see here this evening. What we've actually organised, is a series of activities relating to the contest, and we have actually therefore used our students to prototype the platform you've seen here this evening, to prototype some of the documentation, and as a consequence therefore we've hopefully honed it to the point where it was fit for the national competition. Now, my duty here this evening is actually to award the Innovation Prize. And the Innovation Prize was designed to go to someone who had submitted an entry which wasn't one of the nationally winning entries, but it was one that exemplified something different from the majority of entrants. And so, in that particular case, the award goes to Julian de Hoog from Oxford University. And what he's done is he has built a neural network solution to the problem, which was certainly way different from the solutions that we saw from many of the other entrants, which were rather more deterministic. However, having built a neural network, it didn't perform quite as he wanted. He trained it with some, I think he said, several million games running through this platform. So he gave it a good go, but it didn't quite what he wanted. So he then augmented the neural network solution with something slightly more recursive and deterministic, and came up with a second solution which outperformed his first. So certainly he put some interesting technology in. He refined his solution, and we were particularly impressed by the quality of that work. So, anyway, as I say, sadly, Julian was not able to be with us this evening, and therefore we will be sending him his prize in the next few days. So, perhaps we can just, in absence, quick applause for Julian.
So, Julian de Hoog wins the award for innovation. Julian's from the Oxford University Computing Laboratory.
I'd now like to invite Dr. James Heather, the developer of the platform, to come up and say a few words about the contest, and also I think he's got some interesting stuff to talk about, and to present the Judges' Choice Award.
Yes, David Williams asked me to say something about the design philosophy behind the system and why I put it together. He also told me not to take more than 8 minutes, but he's not here, so unlucky. Chris, you didn't say where he was. Where is he?
He's at a concert.
It's at an Oasis concert. Right. Okay. One of the things that frustrates me about programming, about the way that programming is taught, is that I get the impression that we just don't get students to do enough programming, that we give them lectures on how to code, a bit like you might have a lecture on how to ride a bike, but we don't do enough of getting them out there to use the computer and do the coding. In the same way that if you want to learn to ride a bike, you've actually got to do some bike riding. Of course, we tell the students to go away and do some coding in their spare time, but all too often they've got other things that they'd rather be doing. What I wanted to do was to find a way to make the coding interesting, make it fun, so that people would do it, spend some time doing it just because they enjoyed it. And finding a way to do that through competition was the route that I took to do that. That has been pretty clear in the submissions that we've had, that is the way it's gone. The submission quality has been very, very high, far higher than I imagined it would be. I don't know how many of you can read this, but I think you'll still get the general idea. This is the leaderboard, but without any names down the side, so you still can't see who's won. But this gives you an idea of the submissions. The green lines are 3 of the entries that I provided. So the one that's right down near the bottom just plays randomly. The point of that one really is if you're beating the random one consistently, then you must be doing something right. In practice, if you're not beating the random one, what it means is that you're making lots of illegal moves. If you're making an illegal move, then you lose. And the random one always plays a legal move, but it chooses randomly from the legal available moves. The one about 3/4 of the way down, labelled centrist, that's one that just bangs it down the middle column all the time, or the one just left or right of the middle column if the middle column's full. It plays as near to the centre as it can. Again, if you can beat that one, then you're doing something that must be fairly close to doing the right sort of thing. The green line up near the top is the one that I didn't think anybody would beat. That one is one that I designed to be pretty good. Not unbeatable, but pretty good. It uses all of the time available to it, and it recursively searches through the moves that are available to it and to its opponent until it finds what the best move is, and then that's what it returns. If you can beat that, you're doing very well indeed. And as you can see, there were several entries above that did beat it, and I was really impressed by that because I didn't think that we'd get entries that would beat it. One of the things that I did once we'd got the entries in and run the competition and got the ranking, the final column you see down the right-hand side where it says average, that's the average number of points per game played, under 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 for a loss. So the top entry you see there with 1.85 points per game is doing very, very well. It's winning nearly all of its games. Having run through the competition under the rules of 3 seconds per move, which is what the competition said, I thought I'd do a couple of unofficial runs through with different timings to see what would happen, just for my own amusement, really. So I did 2 more goes. The one that I've labelled quickfire, where the rule was you're allowed half a second per move, so much, much quicker than the competition rules. And then the third column, go slow, that was 15 seconds per move. Now, my expectation was that a module would be either good the longer you gave it, or good relative to the others if you shrunk the time span down. And actually what I found was that the entry that won the competition, that one with the ranking of 1, actually didn't win the quickfire or the go slow one, and didn't come that near to winning. It came 5th in both of those. I don't know why, but I found that quite interesting, that something would be tuned so that it would do very well under the 3 seconds per move competition rule, but actually not do so well if you shrunk the time available or if you expanded the time available. Largely speaking, the modules did pretty similarly under the quickfire rules and under the go slow rules as they did in the official competition. The couple of exceptions that I've highlighted in yellow were modules that pretty much didn't cope at all under the quickfire rules. They were ones that had been written to take the full 3 seconds, and then when they were asked to do it in half a second, didn't manage it and bailed out and didn't return a move at all. Well, fair enough, because the competition rules were 3 seconds. The last thing I want to show you is to play through one of the games that that the competition produced. So some of you, those of you who haven't entered the competition, won't have seen this program. This is what the entrants were using to test out their submissions. So you create your player and then you put it into this test harness, and you can use that to play against other modules that other people have created or other ones that I provided. The top entry you can see on the spreadsheet behind won nearly all of its games, but I want to show you a game that it lost, just to show you that it's not unbeatable, and hopefully to teach you something about strategy for 4 in a row, because I think it's quite instructive. So the game I'm going to show you is one where the winning entry played as player 2. It's going to play the yellow pieces, and it's going to lose to another module which played the red pieces. So the start of the game is fairly unremarkable. So this is the first point where we have somebody creating a threat to win later on in the game. So this square here will be a win for yellow if yellow can get a piece there. One important thing to notice is that it's on the 4th row, counting from the bottom upwards. One of the critical things about 4 in a row is that if you fill all of the rows up with pieces except for one column, and then you fill that last column up, then player 1 you'd expect to get rows 1, 3 and 5, and player 2 you'd expect to get 2, 4 and 6. That turns out to be enormously important with your strategy for how to play. If you're the first player, what you've absolutely got to try to do is produce winning lines where the square that you've got left to fill in is on an odd numbered row. 3 or 5, that will mean in practice. If you're the second player, you need to stop the first player doing that. And this is where this game goes wrong, that what the first player manages to do is to create a winning square on an odd numbered row that the second player doesn't manage to stop. So this is the key move. The next move is going to go either here or here and create this as a winning square for the first player on the 3rd rank. The game is effectively over now. If all of the rows fill up except for this 3rd row, and then the 3rd row fills up, red will win here. And that is pretty much what's going to happen. That means that the only way that yellow's going to win is if yellow can force a win over this side of the board, which is impossible because there's only 2 columns to play with, or over this side of the board, which again is going to be very, very difficult. This is where red's going to win eventually, simply because it's on an odd numbered row and we're going to end up filling up this column, and there'll be a red piece in this square. So all of this stuff is pretty much irrelevant, really. It's only if yellow could create a winning threat down here that it would mean anything. Red's now got a winning square here, which is also going to come into play. That has pretty much put paid to any possibility of yellow winning now. The only places that yellow could win would be up here, and that's not going to happen without red winning on this square. So this is the point where the game's over. Yellow either has to concede a win here or concede a win here. And the point is simply that this was on an odd numbered row, and yellow's goose was cooked right from the beginning. So there you go. That's a game that the winning entry lost, and it might give you some idea of why it lost and how that strategy could be refined. The only other thing to highlight is that there are 2 main prizes tonight. There's one for the overall top entry, the one with the ranking of 1, and there's a main prize for the best beginner entry, which we took to mean an entry that wasn't recursive, wasn't going through the whole tree, that was submitted by somebody who hadn't submitted a recursive entry. The code for that winning non-recursive entry was very, very good. I was very impressed by it, and I strongly suspect that if that way of analysing the board was put into one of the recursive modules and built a new module out of it, that it would absolutely thrash everything on the whole table. I haven't had time to do that yet, but I will experiment with that, because I think that would produce something that would beat everything here. And that would be quite an interesting way of producing a collaborative solution, basically. One written by somebody who'd done the recursive part and somebody who'd done the static analysis part that winning beginner entry had produced. Okay, my task now is to present the prize for the Judge's Choice entry. Now, the Judge's Choice entry is going to somebody who really is winning it for having produced so many submissions. We had somebody who produced 11 submissions, and they weren't all the same. They were all different. Some of them were based on some of the entries that we provided, and some of them were brand new. And generally, they were of a very high quality. So our Judge's Choice Prize goes to the person who had spent the most time on producing lots of different ways of doing it and submitted them all to the competition, and that is Lee Wei Yong.
Lee Wei Yong there, winning the Judge's Choice Award. Lee Wei's from the Imperial College London. He submitted a total of 11 entries using various different strategies, including 3 original strategies, as well as a number of modifications of the advanced modules that were distributed with the SDK.
We'll now move on to the winner of the beginner contest, which is one of the EPCs. I'd like to invite Dr. Catherine Harcott from the Schools Liaison Office for the Faculty of Engineering and Physical Sciences at the University of Surrey, and sponsor of the beginner contest, to announce the winner and award one of those nice shiny EPCs.
Hi. I'd just like to begin with explaining perhaps what a Schools Liaison Officer does at the University of Surrey. The university has a very strong outreach programme. Across the university, we engage with something like 22,000 school children in the previous year, which is, I think, quite an achievement. And I would hasten to add, is not entirely down to myself. I work for just the Faculty of Engineering and Physical Sciences, which includes physics, maths, all the engineering subjects, and, of course, computing. As a chemist, this means that my work is a little challenging because it's not actually my background that I'm out there selling to school children. So I rely very heavily on academics and students like Chris and James to come up with these fantastic ideas that we can go out to schools and enthuse students about subjects that perhaps they hadn't considered and didn't think were for them. Projects like this are particularly fantastic because people like Chris and James put in so much hard work into them to make them really good. The thing about Schools Liaison is, especially for engineering and physical sciences, is they are subjects that are not traditionally thought of as perhaps sexy and fun, but things like this can show how much fun you can have with these things. I'm very enthusiastic about science, and I hope that going out to schools and visiting these school kids, you can spread some of this enthusiasm and hopefully encourage them to pursue this to a higher level and up to degree level. So this competition was launched as part of National Science and Engineering Week. This happens every year, and it's run by the British Science Association. And they run events all over the country for thousands and thousands of school children. And this was just one of the many competitions and workshops that were run. So quite apart from launching the competition, Chris and David also ran a workshop for one particular school to develop their skills so that they could enter the competition. A lot of school kids, they don't have perhaps the techniques that you would need to enter a competition like this. But it was a couple of hours they were able to help them out and train them up and engage them and enthuse them to enter this competition. And that's what it's all about, just opening up possibilities and showing kids what's out there. We do lots of other events at the university, not just through National Science and Engineering Week, but throughout the year. We're host to the British Science Festival this year in 2009, which should have lots of exciting events. But throughout the year, we run workshops. We have speakers going into schools. We have schools visit and have a look round. We run competitions like this one. We also run a science circus every year for the local community. And it's about engaging people in science and engineering. It's very important, not just that science and engineering provides this kind of outreach, but also that universities do. University can be seen as a very elite thing, and it shouldn't be. It is for anyone who is engaged and has the aptitude and the appliance to do these subjects. And it's just making as many people as aware of the possibilities that are at university as possible. The school that came along, I should probably say, is licensed I can't even pronounce it. Licensed Victuallers School, one of many schools that we work with. And the university works with something like 200 schools in the southeast. Now, the thing with a lot of what I do is that if I go out to schools, it has to be within a commutable distance for me. But fantastic projects like a computing project can be nationwide. And as we've seen, there have been submissions from across the country for this competition. So I'm going to announce the prize for the beginners contest. And the winner was for a particularly professional and innovative solution that didn't use recursive, as James said, and performed very well against open entries, beating several. And the winner is Nick Bloor from the University of Manchester. If you'd like to come up, well done.
Nick Bloor from the University of Manchester picking up his second award this evening. Nick won the award for professionalism earlier on, and he's now walking away with the beginner contest winner award.
Finally, we come to revealing the final league table and announcing the winner of the open contest. It gives me great pleasure to invite Alan Pollard, the president of the BCS, to announce the winner and award the prize sponsored by the YPG of another EPC, and also to reveal the league table.
Thanks very much indeed. First of all, let me add my welcome to everybody here today, and to offer my congratulations to all of those who took part, and especially, of course, to the winners. You've already heard from Jen that the YPG is by far the largest of our groups in the British Computer Society. Over a third of our members are in the YPG, and a large proportion of those are students. It's very refreshing because students are tomorrow's future. In addition to having a rapid growth in the BCS, we're now, a couple of weeks ago, we reached our 70,000th member. We've been growing rapidly over the last few years, and one of the more encouraging statistics is that our average age has gone down in the last 3 years from 38 to 28. Now, anybody who knows anything about statistics and maths and all the rest will know that that's actually represents quite a hell of a jump. And therefore, it's encouraging for us because it actually says that the British Computer Society still has something to offer young people today and young professionals today. Now, those who've heard me talk before, and quite a few of them in this room have, will know that there's something that I'm particularly keen on, and that is the changing nature of computing. Over the last 50 to 60 years, through its infancy and its growth, and certainly in the last century, really computing was the preserve of experts and elite, as somebody who mentioned used the word this evening. very often based in academia, and if it was in industry, then it was a backroom job and it was a dark art. And I suppose there may have been those of us who were around in the early days who had a degree of interest in actually preserving that black art, so that it looked even that much more special. And this particular country has actually been at the forefront of so many of the developments in computing and in the way in which computing and the internet have grown. And don't need to enumerate those this evening. But that's very, very important, and our academic background and our academic heritage is absolutely critical, and it must go on for the future. But the real watchword for the British Computer Society as we move forward now is actually the word relevance. And we're finding more and more that the British Computer Society, if we're actually going to succeed in the community and in all walks of life, we've got to make what we do relevant. We've actually got to look to ourselves and say that this particular century, where the last one was about development and innovation, this particular century is really where computing and information technology comes into its own, and it's all about how you apply the technology. So applied computing, applied technology is absolutely critical, and that now covers every aspect of life. There's not one thing that you can think of, I would suggest, that doesn't involve technology in some way or other. There is not a profession these days that does not actually rely in some degree, some more than others, upon information and upon information technology. So the critical thing for anybody who's coming up through the education field at the moment is to know that there is such a future out there. And I know we're going through very difficult economic times at the moment, and people are worried about their jobs and so on, and lots of postulations about whether IT is a good career to be in or not. Well, I can tell you it is, because tomorrow's world, if not today's world, is just 100% dependent upon what computers and technology do. So it's very, very refreshing, therefore, to see a lot of effort put into a competition that's actually got something which is tackling a real live problem. And it's tackling something which is both fun, it's got a relevance, albeit perhaps at a simplistic plane to an everyday game that people can play, but equally so at a very highly mathematical plane. And I can tell you that I've been in computing for more years than I care to remember now. I started off in the early 70s, and I've done my bit of shuffling bits around on the screen, and I've therefore come to know exactly what the power of computing can be, but most importantly, what goes on behind the screen. And so many people these days, 95% of people these days will actually use technology without really any understanding of what's going on behind that screen. We'll take it for granted that they can refresh the screen so rapidly, that can have so many millions of different shades of colour and so on. And yet those who really know what's going on behind the screen know that there's such a lot of brain power condensed into that small piece that you're actually looking at. And so therefore it's something that takes that forward, shows a real relevance, and something which translates into an everyday experience for people outside in the community or wherever, is always something to be praised. And therefore I'm delighted to be able to make the award for the Open Award. And this particular entry was selected because it used an efficient recursive algorithm to evaluate the board, the playing board, and not only outperformed all of the other submissions, but also, as you've seen, the example modules as well provided within the harness. And the winner is Michael Zoho from the University of Manchester.
From the University of Manchester, he submitted a sophisticated weighting minimax approach which performed remarkably well The judges said it ranked higher than all the other advanced examples that were supplied along with the SDK. So Michael there winning the Open contest.
So Michael, congratulations on winning the YPG Open Award. How does it feel?
It's very good.
And you're a student at the University of Manchester, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Second year.
Perfect. What's your course?
Computer science.
Great. And will you be applying for the competition, the student contest again in future years?
Definitely, yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I found it very interesting this year. I'm glad I joined. So.
And what did you find the most interesting about the programming strategy? Was it?
I love the way they how each of the programs played each other rather than playing a single one. So I thought it was very fair in the way they analysed the winner.
Great. Well, you certainly did very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations.
Okay, that just about rounds up the awards ceremony for this part of this evening. You can now see the full league table up there, which we will be uploading to the website in the next coming days, along with the analysis that James Heather has done. And it just leaves me to thank you all once again for attending this evening, and for those of you who entered. Thank you.
So I'm back with Chris Clonane. The awards have been given out. Chris, now you can tell us a little bit more about the competition and the winning entries. What surprised you about the entries?
I was quite surprised by the beginner entry, Nick's entry. It was quite a straightforward strategy. It didn't use any recursion, but it really performed well. It beat a lot of recursive solutions, and it was a really innovative way of doing it, which we hadn't really thought of, which was really great to see. Also, we didn't expect the recursive entries to beat the provided module, and they did, and the quality was just amazing from the people who entered.
Yeah, it's great. And if you were going to be inviting somebody to enter the competition next year, what would be Chris's top tip?
I think it's about thinking through the strategy from start to end, and also a few people made a few mistakes like non-deterministic solutions. They didn't provide that, and there wasn't any randomness, so if you lose once, you lose every time, and it's just like one line of code to put it in, and it then just makes it a lot better. In terms of my one top tip, start early and make many strategies and enter all of them.
Well, indeed, as one contestant found out this evening. So thank you very much. Congratulations on tonight. Great success. What are you going to be doing for the rest of the evening?
I think now it's time for a glass of wine, and also I've got to go and send a text to my co-organiser, David Williams, to let him know how it went. He's enjoying the Oasis concert, no doubt, by now.
I think I might join you with that wine. Thank you, Andrew. Right, thanks, Andrew. I'm here with James Heather from the University of Surrey. James, congratulations on this evening. I think it went absolutely fabulously. How do you feel it went?
I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been really good. I've been so impressed with the quality of the submissions, and so impressed with how people have done. There's been a wide range of different techniques used, and there's been submissions that have beaten the one that I put in that I didn't think would get beaten. So yeah, I've been really pleased. I think it's gone really, really well.
Great. And if you were going to be giving some advice to people considering entering the contest, because I know that you're hoping that it's going to be run again next year, if you're going to be offering them some advice, what would you perhaps offer to them?
Top tip would be plan early. Start work on it early, because it does take quite a while, and you can very easily find that if you leave it to the last minute, then you'll produce something that's either not much good or doesn't work at all. So plan ahead. Like coursework, plan ahead.
Great. Well, thank you. I'll leave you to your wine and cheese. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.